Okay, we're already on.
Okay. And welcome to Mythical Monster Investigations, where I believe we're on episode 16. And we are going to be looking at, well, one of the more famous, infamous, and yet oftentimes completely mocked, overlooked, and celebrated creatures, the Bigfoot, the Yeti, the Sasquatch, and a bunch of other names, which we're going to kind of lump them all into one group in this podcast because, well, frankly, as we're going to find out, most of their stories, sightings, evidence, and everything else is almost exactly the same. But we'll get more into that later. So I'm Archimage, and these are my co-hosts.
Shadow or Fox?
And Zed. Sorry, we got distracted.
Yeah, no worries. And we're going to be looking at Bigfoot. So Bigfoot is a creature who has whose popularity is very similar to its sightings in that it goes in and out. I mean, you'd be very hard pressed to find anyone nowadays, especially in the United States, who has not heard of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, or some variation, who does not know some of the story, or at least have an idea in their head about what it is they're talking about. Like, I doubt highly that any of us are going to go up and say, "Hey, do you have an opinion on Bigfoot?" And they're going to go, "What the hell is a Bigfoot?" Like, I don't think that's going to happen. Or do you guys know areas where that would happen?
In continental U.S.
Yes.
Because outside continental U.S.
No,
in
outside of the U.S.
Hawaii, I think no, even Hawaii, they know about it because we complain about it too much.
Yeah.
Continent. No, there's nowhere in continental U.S. Maybe U.S. territories like the Virgin Island or something like that.
Maybe, but like in the U.S. or like generally, I think North America, I think Canada has a story of a Bigfoot creature too.
Most places have cryptids very similar to a Bigfoot.
Yeah, so most places do, but like in the U.S., like I don't think you're gonna meet anybody who doesn't know what a Bigfoot is, or at least has heard the legend
Yeah.
at some point. So basically, now the funny thing is that it is also possibly one of the most hunted monsters in the modern world. Like, believe it or not, there are still vampire hunters out there, mostly in deep Eastern Europe, but they do exist. Thankfully, they're not as prominent as they used to be, and well, I'm not going to lie, most of them go dig up corpses and nail old nails and cut off heads of of bodies that are already deceased. So take from that what you will. But there are lots of people who still hunt Bigfoots. Now, there's, as far as evidence goes, there is a lot of evidence for Bigfoot, such as footprints, hair samples, um, even at times dried feces that nobody can understand. Footprints are the most famous, as honestly, this is where Bigfoot gets its name. It's supposed to have these massive feet, and they've made various molds of them, taken out. You can find them in museums. And that's the thing, though, is that most of the evidence is inconclusive. They've taken DNA. Most of the DNA normally is so degraded that they can't tell any of all what it is. So the problem with Bigfoot is kind of the opposite of a lot of monsters. Like a lot of monsters just their myths get very saturated over the years, but Bigfoot has literally had so much of its myth just saturated into it. Like there is so much for Bigfoot, and yet it doesn't change much. I mean, that's the big difference is that despite the myth hasn't changed its general shape. When people think of Bigfoot or Yeti or Sasquatch, they all pretty much describe the same generic creature is a humanoid being that looks like an ape or an ape-like humanoid. The image of Bigfoot, unlike Wendigo, vampire, werewolf, or any of the other creatures, especially ones we've looked at, especially dragons, has not changed. it hasn't really evolved to where he's gotten wings or a horse head like the Jersey Devil. He's just remained more or less the same. And that's the other kind of strange thing about Bigfoot is the abundance of evidence. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would abundance of evidence be a bad thing when you're trying to, discover things about a monster? Well, when it comes to the abundance of evidence, the bad thing is the evidence is very rarely credible. And because of this, because Bigfoot is so popular, there's a lot of TV shows that hunt Bigfoot. Like the History Channel nowadays, I think has like 2 or 3 shows that are dedicated to just hunting Bigfoot, which have been on for years. And they've even had entire episodes of various History Channel things like Monster Quest and Mysterious Histories, Mysteries, various things like that that will look into Bigfoot. Searching for evidence, which somehow, amazingly, is always inconclusive. Shocking, right? Out of curiosity, have any of you guys ever seen any of these shows?
Yes.
I have not.
Yeah. I admit I've only ever really watched the ones where they come on to like History's Mysteries where they just talk about it. I've never seen the ones where they actually hunt it. Like
I have.
what do they do? They just go and
They go out
hunt?
into the woods and then they freak out to the random noises they hear in the woods, and then they go, "That's Bigfoot,"
Which
and they start chasing
which
after.
most of they start chasing after. Which most of the time it's probably one of the production crew tossing a rock.
I
So it's
mean,
so it's ghost hunters with Bigfoot?
it's literally Ghost Hunter
Yes.
with Bigfoot.
Yes.
Really?
No, it's 100%
Yes.
that. And then they'll be like, "I found Bigfoot hair," and it's like, well, it's inconclusive, which means it could have been mage, um, it could have been from any random assortment of animals, and they can't get a clear reading on it. It could be anything. So, or I found a footprint. It's like it's so mangled, it could have been multiple animals stepping on the same footprint.
Yeah, that's about right. And well, that's the thing. So now again, you would think that having a bunch of TV shows and things bringing attention to this and looking for it would be a good thing, but in the case of Bigfoot, it's actually been rather detrimental to finding or proving or even taking it seriously because all this attention leads other people to seek attention, and which leads to a lot of fake videos, a lot of fake evidence, and a lot of, well, frankly, nonsense. One of the more famous ones is the Patterson Gimlin film. Now, this is a film that was taken, which absolutely swept through the internet, through cable, through everything, of the Bigfoot creature marching along and walking past, and people are recording, and they see the Bigfoot. It turns to them when it sees them, and then it walks off, and then they run away in fear. Now, for those of you on YouTube, this is the image that was on it. The full video is on YouTube. You could look it up. Again, it's the Patterson Gimlin film. And I'm not gonna lie, I watched this. This has been more or less confirmed as a fake. There are some people who say it's real, but the majority of people claim it's fake. And I am one who completely believes that this thing is about as real as a $3.50 bill. Because if you watch the video and if you look at the image on YouTube, my biggest problem is that when the monster or when the ape or whatever moves, you can see that its torso doesn't really move properly with its body. It's like the fur is slightly disconnected, which I don't know. Can you guys see the fur at the waist that kind of is moving at a strange angle in the like still life
The
shot?
line of a suit.
Right? It looks off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Shadow R Fox, you see what I mean?
So I've looked at this before. It's one thing that got me is watching it move is very strange. It looked like someone struggling to move in a suit.
Right.
Um, it's too hard for me to make out the lining of the fur just because of the fact it's such a pixelated movie. It's so hard to make anything out in that movie.
No, I agree. Like this image, like looking for an image on it, this is one of the clearest
No,
images
that's
I
look
can find.
that's been this look like it's been cleaned up by AI.
I think it probably has, but it's the clearest one I can find. But you could even with that, you can still because even with the pixelated version, I can still see the slight strange movement of the torso of the hair, and that's what bothered me about it because it looks extremely fake, and like the top is moving independent from the bottom. Now, another kind of nail into this particular story's coffin, especially as far as credibility goes, is that a costume owner came forward and said the people who made this had requested and bought a gorilla suit and even asked how to broaden out the shoulders. So, yeah, that's that's not going to sit well for credibility. I'm not sure if they ever tried to disprove that or anything. I think it was just let go and everybody forgot about it, to be honest.
Most likely.
Yeah, but so but this is not the only one. There's a lot of people who came forward with Bigfoot evidence, with pictures of it and everything else, and the majority of it has been proven to be faked. It's about as real as most of Nessie's pictures. It's more of a fad. And like you said with the DNA, most of it is too degenerated to get any conclusive tracks, to get any conclusion from it. The photos are grainy as I'll get out. This one was definitely, I think, cleaned up with AI, but most of the photos are so pixelated, like you could be looking at a cardboard cutout and you wouldn't really notice. And then the tracks. So the tracks look convincing until you realize that it is possible that a lot of them could be bear tracks that have been elongated. So bear tracks, bears put their foots down, they make little paw prints, but when bears scrape and move at different rates, their foot can actually scrape back, elongating their tracks, which can look more like a human foot and a rather large one, which a lot of people have confirmed that some tracks that have been thought to have been a Bigfoot have in fact been elongated bear tracks. And well, bears also have a little bit of a history with possibly being credited with the Bigfoot mythos because a lot of people have suggested that Bigfoot could, in fact, be bears or other animals suffering from a disease called mange. Now, mange is a type of skin disease caused by parasitic mites. These mites embed themselves in their skin or the hair follicles of the animal infected. There are various types of parasitic mites, resulting in various manifestations of the disease, though the most common is hair loss. And again, for those watching on YouTube, you can see a picture of a bear suffering from mange. And to be fair, it does not look like a bear. I mean, Shadow R. Fox, you thought it was some kind of horse.
Yeah, because of his head.
Yeah, but that's a bear. I mean, look, if I saw this, especially if it was walking up on two legs, I could think it was something different. I'm not sure I would immediately think Sasquatch, but again, mage affects animals in different ways. Though the most common is hair loss, sometimes it can look shaggy and everything else. But a bear has been one of the big things with this. And animals like this with suffering from mange have been accused of a lot of things. In fact, the very famous chupacabra, which is mostly a Mexican legend, but it is one that has come up through Texas quite often. A lot of people think it could be a coyote hybrid suffering from mange, which, yeah, they look pretty weird. In fact, they thought this creature wasn't real until they actually managed to kill a couple of them, only to find out they were coyotes. Well, actually, I think they were a hybrid dog and coyote. Was that right?
Which one? There's been multiple cases.
Yeah, there's been multiple cases. I think one was a hybrid dog and coyote
The
suffering from mange, or
if you're referring to the one where it's like a video of a car driving and there's a canine chasing after it that they said
Yeah,
that one was, yes, that was a mixture of I believe a coyote and a dog hybrid.
yeah. Wait, was the animal chasing the car, or was the car following the animal?
No, the maybe one of either. I remember there's a
Uh,
video of
yeah, I
a car
remember that, but
driving and someone's looking from the back recording a coyote or dog chasing after it that is having a bad case of mange.
yeah, something like that. But yeah, there's a lot. But that's what they think the chupacabra is now. To be fair, in Mexico, the chupacabra looks fairly different. In fact, it's a completely different oddity creature, which we may look into someday. But this is apparently the Texas version of it. So yeah, with that interesting remark, I think now, besides slight animal disease mutilation, now would be a good time to lighten things up with a little bit of Who's That Monster Pokemon, which I will give over to Zed.
So I was unaware you were going to bring up the bear thing, because ironically enough, the one that has been chosen for this is a bear.
That's why I did it, actually.
Um, but no, within the most recent game, there is a section where you are dealing with essentially a cryptid Pokemon of something that shouldn't necessarily be there, that doesn't make sense. It is roaming a forest. It's only seen on like foggy nights, but that would be the Blood Moon form of a Pokemon known as Ursaluna.
Jeez.
And yes, the picture that is on screen, that is the very picture they show you in game.
Okay, so. Whoa, damn.
And that is what it looks like. The one to the right is what it normally looks like. The one you find during this small story mission is the one on the left with the red circle on its head. Which I believe later on it's either talked about or theorized that somehow it must have ended up on like a boat going to where you are in the game, and something happened when it evolved to turn it into that.
Okay, interesting.
Because there's only one.
Huh. Okay, well, yeah, but no, that's actually why I decided to do it right then, because of the bear thing. I thought that'd be a nice tie-in.
No, that was an excellent tie-in.
Thank you. I thought I did that fairly well, but it goes to show you. I mean, while I know this is a game and they're completely doing this for effects, that's the thing is with dark when it's dark, when you're not really looking, when your vision's obscured, it's hard to really tell what you're looking at sometimes. And well, because of that, that's how a lot of stories. That's how a lot of stories get told. That's even how these monsters get started. And it should always be said that here is that I do believe these people are seeing something. I'm just not exactly sure what it is. And also, to be fair, some scientists say that it's not impossible that that there is some kind of creature that has yet to be discovered. It's not impossible that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti could be some type of undiscovered creature, because new creatures are being discovered all the time. So we're not here to completely discredit them, because, well, that would be overly arrogant to think we've discovered everything when people discover new things all the time.
We haven't even mapped our oceans completely,
Yeah, we've mapped like
Yeah.
5%.
and we'll still find. And every year we find new species. So I mean, we haven't
Exactly.
even begin to find all the creatures. I should note that the majority of the creatures we find each year typically are new species of fishes. With like I think the number one is like fishes and then bugs. Or like the
Yeah.
two, or usually in the number one or two of the most types of different species we find that year, and then right below it will probably be like a subset small species of we didn't know this version of a bird, a finch or a robin was in flew and lived in this part of the world type stuff.
Yes, but still the point is it's new species. And even though so Bigfoot is kind of this is the problem with Bigfoot is one, it's supposed to be a rather big creature. And the arguments against it are, for one, they've never found a body, and sightings of Bigfoot have been happening for quite a while. And people bring up correctly that if Bigfoot's going to be around this long, there can't just be one of them. There has to be a small group for them to procreate, repopulate, and everything else. And the fact that they've never found a body is, questionable, unless this Bigfoot happens to have a lifespan that's hundreds of years. But to be fair, while these are decent arguments, the counter arguments make just as much sense. I mean, animal bodies are actually very rarely found
I was
in the
just
woods or
about to
anything else.
say that, like, we very rarely, if you take a walk into the woods, you tell me how many wolf bones or bear bones or deer bones you'll find. Like whole
Exactly.
skeletons, not like just one random bone, but whole skeletons laying out in the open that you can properly identify as it's that type of animal.
No, and that's exactly it. And that's the counter argument, because you don't find a lot of animal bodies in the woods because the woods cleans up after itself. As when an animal dies, they get torn apart by other animals, by other things, and
They get buried by the dirt and not in elements.
exactly. So everything's torn apart. So that's not really a good argument. And well, that's really the big problem with Bigfoot, is that for every argument, there's a counter argument, and they just end up kind of canceling each other out. The fakes don't help, but there are others that they can't prove are fakes, but they're so grainy you can't see much, or the DNA is inconclusive. It's a big mess. So bottom line, and I'm not gonna. And if anyone thought this was gonna be what this was about, sorry, we're not gonna be able to prove whether or not Bigfoot exists or not. That's not gonna be the point of this podcast. I'm sorry to anyone who thought that, but no, at least I can't. Do you two have absolute proof that Bigfoot does or doesn't exist? I'm gonna regret asking that.
You are
Well,
going to regret that question.
Archimage,
I knew it. I knew it. I knew something was about to happen.
if you recall,
Even as I said it, I realized it was a mistake.
if you recall correctly, I said I actually did have an image that were actually put concrete evidence that there could be a Bigfoot.
I don't remember you saying it'd be concrete evidence.
I don't remember that either. I just remember the
You said you
I
had an
remember the
image
sentence,
to
I
freak
have
us
an
out.
image.
I have an image, and it will put all those Bigfoot hunters to shame.
Oh god.
To shame.
We're gonna get angry Bigfoot messages, aren't
Oh,
we?
the angriest because they couldn't find this
Okay.
image. They're gonna be angry that just some random jackass on a podcast found this image.
Okay, Zed, I apologize. This was my fault.
This
Oh
is
yes,
completely your fault.
100%. I mean, you're gonna have to watch the YouTube video if you're listening to on Spotify, because this is 100% the most concrete image of Bigfoot you will ever see in your life.
Oh god, what have we done? Oh, forget it!
He did it again.
Bam! It's there.
How did we fall for the same trick twice?
He did the exact same trick.
There you go. I found him.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
I found him.
Did we really fall for the same thing he did
We
in the
fell
dragon?
for the exact same trick again. And for anyone who's curious about what we mean by that, watch one of the dragon episodes, specifically
Yes,
the one
the
about the African dragons.
African
The
dragon.
African dragons. You'll see exactly what it means, and we fell for it then too. We should have known.
We should have known that was it when he said that he had an image, and then when he said it was concrete.
This is still not as bad as your witch train image, but they're getting up there.
It's not.
The witch train was the best one.
I
that was
felt like
me.
I need to put some kind of warning on that one.
And that was me honestly looking for a picture of a witch train as you described it to me.
I told you weren't going to find a witch train.
I found something on the train.
Oh, you found something, all right. I think it was one of the most racist images I've ever seen.
Yeah, I had to take a couple of photos. Like, do I want to? Kind of.
You didn't think about it that long.
Not that long.
You thought about it for 10 seconds.
I said 5.
Maybe 5. I
What-
don't know.
What also get
Okay.
me is I do have something else, and
Oh, no.
I'll reveal that towards the end if it doesn't get revealed by
Okay.
accident.
Okay. So so I apologize to all of you two. That was entirely my fault. So moving on to the question. So since we're not going to prove, even with Shadow R. Fox's amazing evidence, we probably won't prove or disprove anything. That's not the purpose of it. But here's the thing. If Bigfoot was a real creature, what is it? Well, there have been a lot of poses. A lot of people have posed the answer to this question. The most common is a missing link. The supposed ancestry that shows that we evolved from monkeys. That's what a lot of people say. It's the missing link between that and humans. Now, other people go with a slightly more rational explanation. The Gigantolepicus blacki, which was a species
Sorry, the
of.
what now?
For those of you watching YouTube, it's actually on screen now. The Gigantopithecus blacki.
Okay.
I was going to butcher that name no matter what. But this is an extinct species of large ape with red hair. Some people think that Bigfoot might be this creature, that somehow it has survived, and very small numbers of it are living in the forests of North America.
Honestly thought it was a orangutan when I first saw it. It looked like
Yeah.
an orangutan.
No, it does. I think it's related to it, actually. But yes, it is an extinct ape, which a lot of people, again, think that this could be what Bigfoot is, that it somehow has survived and could be living around. Though, to be fair, they've only really found evidence of it in southern China. So
Well, that give more backing to the Yeti than anything.
that gives more backing to the Yeti than anything. But yeah, massive gorilla ape-like, potentially like 200 to 300 pounds when alive. But there's not even a lot of fossils for it. So
See, in all seriousness, if I ever did believe in Bigfoot, that this is the most credible thing I believe is it's just an undiscovered primate species. Not a
yeah,
missing
no.
not a missing link, just like a species of primate. If there is one in North America, a North American primate that we've yet to identify, and I'm like, okay, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, that can be a little bit feasible. If it's like a small monkey or chimpanzee or some subspecies of that, I can see a creature like that living deep in the mountains or deep in the forests in North America because we have dense woods in I think what
And
northwest is where the Bigfoot is always sighted. Or
well, we'll get to that
yeah,
later.
we'll get to that.
But yeah, so we've seen that, and again, also remember a lot of animals, despite what people claim, try to avoid people. Like most of the time, they'll skirt away from people. So it's actually not completely absurd that we haven't found anything because, well, apes don't really like people as it is. So if this is like a small group of them, there's a chance that they wouldn't want to be seen by people or would generally try to steer clear of them.
I've always been fascinated by the concept that there are primates in South and Central America, but none made it through North America. I've always found that very interesting from both a historical and biological standpoint of just the migration of animals. You can kind of see, if you're subscribing to the whole Pangea Earth supercontinent thing, you can kind of see the break off of some animals.
Yeah.
And I've always found it interesting, even if you don't subscribe to that theory, just the migration. Why did they choose to settle only in South and Central America and none of them tried to migrate north, have always just made me scratch because I'm like, you think they would after a while, they would have tried.
I'm not gonna lie, I never really thought about it. Maybe at one point it was part of the Ice Age thing.
Well, the only thing
'Cause-
I can think of is Mexico and the Great Plains would have been the big deterrent because not a lot of trees, not a lot of what fruits and vegetable or
And to be fair, while people probably get mad at this comment, in Central America, a lot of places can be a little trigger happy.
yeah.
So, yeah, that might also have something to do with it. But no, I do see your point, and it's a good question. I'm not gonna lie, I've never actually thought about it.
I again, if somehow it came out, tomorrow, scientists discovered a missing primate that is North American, a North
Right.
American primate, you know, I would not be surprised. And I'll be like, okay, so that's probably the Bigfoot people kept seeing. And that would be my thing. Okay, that's case closed. That's the Bigfoot. It could be a 2 foot tall monkey. I'll be like, yeah, that's Bigfoot. And
Yeah, I
I
can
can see
understand.
I can see a camper or someone running across this and saying, "Yep, Bigfoot."
No, this thing definitely. And to be fair, Shadow Arfox, you're not wrong. They do believe it is closely related to a modern orangutan.
Okay, because
I mean, the red hair does kind of give it away.
it
So.
wasn't just the red hair; it's the overall facial structure and everything. Like
Yeah,
it's just missing a few things, and it got bad posture.
yes, but they do believe it was related to the orangutan. So no, you're fairly close. So this is one of the big ones, and yeah, I do think one of the most credible. Not that it's particularly this extinct species, but that it's some kind of undiscovered ape. Like if Bigfoot's real, I could believe that. Um, Also, other claims get a little bit more ridiculous. Some people say that it is a spirit of the forest that guards the forest from people who wish to do it harm. Uh, yeah,
Wow,
okay,
it really
sure.
sucks at its job then.
Wasn't gonna say it, but yeah, kind of. And then, of
Unless it
course,
only guards one specific forest.
I'd say it only guards one specific tree.
Wait.
That
Oh
probably.
yeah. Well, that's more of the Native American, I believe. Well, no, no,
Yes,
no. It's also for the Yeti. I think the Yeti version does the same thing.
yeah. So it's mostly the spirit thing comes mostly from tribal legend,
Yeah.
which, well, grain of salt. Uh, I want to say grain of salt, but we do have to remember tribal legends shouldn't really be taken out because as I found out, in America, there was a tribal legend about a tribe who took on a race of red haired giants. And according to their legends, they managed to kill this tribe of giants by tricking them into a cave. Then they. Really?
I had to bring in the Chuck Norris Forest
Yeah.
Warrior.
Yep. Of course you did.
I'm
when
going to move
when
on.
we're talking about spirit of the forest.
Of course.
I mean, Chuck Norris would be the most powerful spirit you could put on there, but yeah. I mean, Chuck Norris, the whole world would be nothing but a forest if Chuck Norris was the forest spirit.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, honor to Chuck Norris done.
There we
What
go.
was I saying? Oh, yeah. So the tribe mentioned this, and they mentioned they killed them by tricking them into a cave, lighting the front of the cave on fire and sealing it, and basically suffocating the giants. Now, this was considered to be a foolish native story until a bunch of farmers looking for bat guano for fertilizer, because apparently bat guano is surprisingly good fertilizer.
Yes.
Who knew?
Yeah.
No, I did.
Yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me. Just bat guano smells really bad.
Yeah, that's how you know it's good.
Yeah, I mean it stinks. If anybody's like, it's a horrible smell. Not the point. Um, when the farmers went into this cave where they were finding a bunch of bat guano, they also found dozens of skeletons of rather large people, all about 7 or so feet tall, all with remnants of red hair. proving the Native American story true. And some of these skulls have shown to actually be bigger than human skulls. They're in a museum in Nevada, which are kind of kept down in the basement of the museum because honestly, they don't really know what to make of them because, well, crap, this Native American tribe was telling the truth about basically slaughtering and committing genocide on this small tribe of giants. So that's off-putting. But that's the point: is that you shouldn't discount these stories because, as it turns out, some of them might be true. Um, Other than that, while you have the spirits, you also have the more fun ones, which includes Bigfoot being some kind of alien. Which I'm not shocked, but it's actually such a popular theory that it was even featured in a Star Wars magazine where Chewie became the Bigfoot.
Oh, was that the one where they went back in time?
Yes. Yeah, that's the one where he went back in time. Chewbacca became Bigfoot and ended up meeting Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I vaguely recall that. Wait a minute,
Which I I have to admit that's a fun story. I have questions about it, but I can't deny that's whoever thought that up. That's a very creative story. Like Zed, you laughed at it. It's creative, right?
It's also funny that Chewbacca is consistently tied to Harrison Ford.
Yeah, well, kind of has to be at this point.
found them. I found Bigfoot, guys. We got him.
I'm,
You did
you
it.
know, you know what? I'll accept this one.
I'll accept it.
Okay, so I was wrong. In this video, we did prove Bigfoot exists. And there he is in all his glory.
And heaven help you if he got a bowcaster with you.
Help you if you run into that Bigfoot. You're just dead.
Unless you let him win in a game of alien chess, then he'll be fine.
And just, just further proof. Some of these other images.
There's
Apparently,
other images.
yes. Apparently,
Of course,
Chewbacca.
there's other images.
This other image is the one that got me. Was I'm like, oh geez, this.
Oh dear.
They gave him his gun.
Oh.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so bottom line, there's been a lot of different things talking about what Bigfoot might be. Some some interesting, some credible, others, well, we just did others. Those others are possibly less credible, to be frank. But Bigfoot or Sasquatch is not an isolated thing. There are literally dozens of sightings all over the US of this thing, and there are also different sightings all over the world, but over the world, they're called different things. Where we've got Sasquatch and Bigfoot here, there's also the famous Yeti, there's Ba Tututut, or the Vietnamese wild man, the Mongolian monster, not Mongolian, but Mogollon monster, the Alma, the Barnamo, the Bukit Tibet monkey man, the skunk ape, the Ubu Gogo, the Fook monster, the Honey Island swamp monster, the Marikoxi, and the urine. Which I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know there was that many. And in spite of these creatures coming from various regions which contain distinctive cultures and distinctive historical differences, the beast's description is fairly uniform, with very little variance, if any. Stories typically depict a large humanoid with ape like features whose body is covered in hair. Another aspect that remains fairly constant in the accounts is the monster's overall behavior. In most interactions, the beast inhabits a forest like area. However, while it's claimed to be dangerous, it doesn't usually seem to be that much of a threat to humans. So, I mean, I guess that's good. Uh, Now, here's the thing: not all encounters are fake, or I should say that not all the people who have witnessed Bigfoot and claim to have met Bigfoot or seen Bigfoot are seeking attention. Some people are genuinely saying that they have seen something. And that is something that definitely should be remembered. And one good one that could kind of describe things is a state of mind. Now, for state of mind, I want to go back to a sighting of the Batutat, or Batutat. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. But this was a sighting of the Vietnamese wild man, and this was during the Vietnam War. There were many accounts of American soldiers coming in contact with the Vietnamese wild man. Now, according to one American soldier, he was stationed in a wooded area in Vietnam, keeping a sharp eye out for the enemy. Now, he was on high alert, listening for the slightest sound, and yet he got surprised. He got surprised by a large creature that walked on two legs and seemed to be covered in hair, and it managed to come up behind the American virtually unhurt, as the American soldier tells it at least. The creature did not seem startled, merely surprised, and then ran away as soon as it was spotted. Now, what would you say to this? I mean, his state of mind. He was very, very stressed. He's in a high combat situation. He's looking for possible enemies, someone who might kill him, and suddenly something comes and sneaks up on behind. Now, I think that this American did see something, but I think it's more likely that what he saw was probably someone in camouflage gear. Now, camo gear, most people just think of it as the uniform military men wear with the camo pattern on it, but most camouflage gear can really make it look like the forest with bits of forest or turf, scraggly bits going all around them to make them look more creature than human. Which, for those of you YouTube today, you can see a little bit. If that's moving in the dark, that could be considered hair. What do y'all think?
Wait,
Yeah.
a better image.
I'll try and find a better one.
No,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, come on, look at that thing. I mean, if you saw that, definitely. And a high intensity war, it's dark at night, you're already tense. You could see that as a monster. Now, what happened? Maybe a Vietnamese soldier or perhaps an ally saw him and got startled and just ran off. Maybe they didn't have ammo. Who knows? But I think that's more plausible for what the American might have seen. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it makes more sense that it could just have been someone in a ghillie suit.
What
Right?
branch of the military was the soldier?
Um, I'm not sure. I just said it was an American soldier. It was someone on the ground, though, in Vietnam.
Because
Probably infantry.
ghillie suits all at that time was been known to a good number of American branches, unless this guy was a new recruit or something.
I mean, in Vietnam, there were plenty of those.
No, it's true because that's the thing. American snipers kind of got the. I mean, there was a lot of real good American snipers during the Vietnam War who used ghillie suits to actually. I think it was during the Vietnam War when ghillie suits really picked up with the U.S. and sniping.
I'm not sure, but that sounds right.
I believe because I believe in World War II, we couldn't really make use of it because we kept moving the front too much. During the Korean conflict, it was too stationary. And during the naval invasion, there wasn't much use for it. It wasn't until Vietnam that we got to such a heavily forested vegetation area that we can utilize some of that stuff to try to use it on our enemies, I believe.
Yeah, because most people think of Korean warfare, they think mostly of airplane warfare. So
Because the only other time I would
or
remember
jets.
ghillie suits being used are in the war on terror in the Middle East. There was a lot of
Yeah,
deployment of ghillie suits to
yeah,
snipers
they
in
were
that region.
definitely earlier than that. So
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? I mean, this could have been a Vietnam ghillie suit, but bottom line, like you could see how in the dark, high intensity, this could be mistaken for a creature instead of a human being.
In the dark, when you're already shot up, probably on some sort of forced adrenaline high just from being on edge, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. Hang on. I mean, most ghillie suits, if you look at them, they do look like a creature because let me see if I got.
I mean, they're meant to blend in, so
Yeah.
yeah, it ends up looking like hair, and I think that's probably like a good source of where this mythos came from. Now, of course, I doubt all Bigfoot sightings have just been guys in ghillie suits, although that would be hilarious if they turned out to be true. I mean that would be like an epic practical
The
joke.
only thing that every Bigfoot sighting has been is just some guy who wants to live alone in his peaceful life in the woods, and then a bunch of damn kids show up
I
looking for something.
well,
I mean that would be hysterical.
here's the thing. Not too far off because most of the if I pull up the Bigfoot sighting map again, most of the sightings of Bigfoot I noticed have been in states where you would do hunting, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
that's where the
And
evidence about the bear and mange thing come from a
and
lot.
ghillie suits also to like those ghillie suits are most popular in those states for hunting purposes.
Yeah, which might be why the number increased of late. So it's not impossible that lately, but again, Bigfoot goes back quite a while.
No, it
So
does. But that would be a good explanation of recent sighting because yeah, there has been numerous times where people wore ghillie suits and many people thought it was some type of creature because they never
yeah,
most people never seen anyone in a ghillie suit before.
exactly. And who knows? It could actually just be a bunch of assholes trying to scare people. I mean, look, we had an entire phenomenon where jackasses were dressing up as clowns going after people to scare them. So,
Oh,
clearly this is not beyond human
I
stupidity.
was thinking, oh, all we gotta do a Scooby Doo episode, and we go.
I'm not driving out to these places to go
It's
hunt in the
Old
woods
Man
for a Bigfoot.
Jenkins. I would have got away with it if it was meddling podcasters.
Meddling podcasters. That's what we're going with?
Well,
Uh,
they can't call us meddling kids.
that's true. Like we
I'd
also
like to point out, I'm pretty sure that they were barely teenagers or just entering adulthood. They really couldn't be called kids very much either.
It
that,
depends with
did we ever
continuity.
actually figure out how old they were in the original Scooby Doo
In
series?
the original,
Yeah, the original. Like I know
high
other
schoolers.
versions made them teenagers,
They
but
would have been high
They were.
schoolers.
They was.
Though I don't know what high schoolers are allowed to have a van and just drive around
Well, I mean, legally,
solving random
you get your
mysteries.
learning permit around what 16 in the U.S.
No,
yeah,
you can get your learner's permit around 15. You get
So
your
there you
driver's
go.
license at 16.
yeah,
Yes.
but that still who's let. But to his point, like who's letting them drive around to all these
Yeah, if
places?
they're high schoolers that are that old, they're not even remotely done with high school.
Like, did they even go to school?
Yeah. In the newer ones,
And the
yes.
newer ones, yes, but I'm talking about the old ones, like the
They
first Scooby
they've
Doo.
referenced school, but it's always inferred that they're doing this either after school, during breaks, or
Yeah, but
during the summer.
Is that what it inferred? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch enough of Scooby Doo to
It
really
is
say.
always inferred that they're doing this during their off hours. So like they do school, and then as soon as they get done with school, they hop in the mystery machine and go ghost hunting.
Well, then shit, they live around a lot
thing.
of ghost stuff.
That's why I say it's also inferred that this is during the summer because they could travel cross country, and it wouldn't be unseemly to have a bunch of kids in a van traveling cross country during the summer.
in the summer, no, but
Right. Yeah, two guys and two girls in a van just traveling across the country. That's not unseemly at all.
Close
no, it makes
enough.
perfect sense. With a talking dog, mind you.
Yes.
Yeah, with the talking dog. Which reminds me, if we're gonna do Scooby Dooing for Bigfoot, we got to get some version of a talking dog.
Well, then we're not gonna be going on that mission for a long time because I
That's
don't know
exactly
what
it.
breed roughly talks.
I know Scooby-Doo was supposed to be a Great Dane, but
I
I
have
don't
seen
think they
Great
flunked
Danes.
him.
They do not speak.
We'll just get a guy in the suit. Or we'll do the thing they did for Dr. Doolittle and just and other films with talking animal and just put peanut butter in their mouth so that way and then put like a little tape recorder up so they start talking.
So essentially, you want to create Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. No. Other than us trying to
Which one of
find,
us is buying the van? None of us own a van.
That's also true.
I know, like that's why I was gonna move on. We're
The
not buying a
closest thing is
van.
that two of us drive SUVs.
We're not buying a van, and no one is going to be hunting Bigfoot. If we're gonna go on some awesome quest, like it's gonna be to find something cool, like Excalibur, the Holy Grail, or something. I'm not going out to find Bigfoot. Now, if you guys had a quest to find Excalibur, I'm on board, like
But
100%.
what if Bigfoot has Excalibur and the Holy Grail? That's why we couldn't
Oh,
find
good
all
God
this.
in heaven above.
What is Bigfoot going to do with Excalibur?
Well, I mean, he lived in the woods. How else is he going
How
to clear
did
out all the
Bigfoot
foliage?
get Excalibur?
He's going to use it. So what you're saying is Bigfoot has Excalibur because he needs a machete.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, that is absolutely horrid to use Excalibur as a machete. Second of all, how exactly does Bigfoot in North America have possibly gotten Excalibur over from the island of Britain?
I mean, he could just. I mean, look, Vikings got over here, so he could probably have got over there.
On a Viking ship?
I mean, maybe.
You know
what?
Why are we arguing this point? We know we're not going to win.
So
Just to move on, Shadow Fox, if you could bring me evidence that Bigfoot has Excalibur, I will go Bigfoot hunting with you, okay?
done.
What the? What is that?
What am I looking at?
You got
Oh, we're
13th
looking
century
at-
Bigfoot in England, so there we go.
That-
What?
Okay, you're the one who said it, so have fun.
I can tell you did not expect me to find a picture like
No,
that.
I did
No,
not.
we did not expect the fucking picture.
I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like, what did you type up to find this?
I mean, people have apparently been doing some crazy stuff with Bigfoot.
Did you type up Bigfoot and Excalibur?
I type in Bigfoot medieval sword, and I got Bigfoot medieval fencing, apparently.
What the fuck? What? You know, this is my fault because when I did this, I did real research and apparently not bullshit nonsense.
I was hoping.
I've got to stop underestimating the internet.
I was hoping I would just find a guy in a Bigfoot costume holding up a medieval sword, and that would be good enough. But that was even better because it's like it looked old fashioned.
Okay, well, I guess we're going Bigfoot hunting. Let me know. Okay.
So apparently, I think a lot of these pictures though came from this one's obviously fake, but
Sorry, what?
I think a lot of these because I've been looking at these pictures. There's a lot of pictures of medieval swordsmen fighting quote wild man, and they look like Bigfoot.
Yeah, there you go. Funny enough, that was actually going to be my next point before we got into Scooby-Doo territory. Is that another? We do try to figure out where some of these sightings came from. Another one that has been proposed is possibly 5th or 6th century sightings of gorillas for the first time. Okay, so people were thinking, why would really a gorilla be considered a Bigfoot or a hairy person. Well, you have to remember that gorilla didn't really mean gorilla. The very definition of gorilla as a species didn't come into meaning until roughly the 1800s. Before that, especially in the 5th and 6th centuries, the meaning of the word gorilla meant wild or hairy person. Ape could mean both monkey and ape. And speaking of apes, a lot of people hadn't actually seen one. So when explorers first saw them for the first time, apes can look rather humanoid. And this depiction shows what a lot of people saw or thought of as apes is them walking on their hind legs, more humanoid. And again, they weren't classified as a separate species of gorilla until the late 1800s. And not to mention, that managed to find some, as we said, a lot of animal corpses aren't actually found in the forest, but they were able to find some evidence. Large skulls, for instances, of apes, which do look very humanoid at times. So could this have led to the myth? Hard to say. And another thing is that gorilla, ape, wild man could have also been used, actually, to Zed's point earlier, as an insult to a person who was a loner, who wanted to be by himself, live in the forest, and was covered in animal skins. I mean, there are people like that today who want to live completely off the grid, are strange, hate people, and just live off the land, often, again, covered in animal skins. I mean, heck, there's an entire society of the Amish about it.
Well, I mean, they would call, at one point they became a fashion statement. They would call, garden hermits.
Yeah. But, it could have also been in gorilla, ape could have also been an insult for wild men like this, which could have contributed to the myth a bit. But bottom line, with Bigfoot, unlike many monsters, I try to give a more plausible explanation, but honestly, there is just so much evidence and counter evidence that the most I can really say about Bigfoot is that, again, I believe that they are seeing something. I believe that the people who are not clearly just doing fakes to get famous or to get online or to epically prank people, are seeing something. Could it be a new species? Possibly. Could it be a bear with mange? Also possible. Could it be some asshole in camo gear? Again, possible. I think that more evidence needs to be found. I think most of all, more credible evidence needs to be found before we can really make any type of decision. And with that rather short episode of Mythical Monster Investigation because of it, so I will now ask either of my co-hosts, they have more they want to add before Shadow, R. Fox, and I apparently go off to find Bigfoot with Excalibur.
Well, don't forget, I said that I did have something else.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I was
more.
hoping you'd forget.
This one was particularly for Zed.
What? Oh,
Because
no, I'm scared.
Zed restarted, was it Tears of the Kingdom?
Yes.
The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
And since that game deal, and he hates going after the Korok seeds.
Oh, fuck those stupid little things. They can all die in fires.
And
I will start the
I
fire.
can't help but think of, Bigfoot with the Koroks because they both live in the woods. They're both hard to find, yet people go crazy trying to find them. Am I wrong, Zed?
No, you're not. I found all of them. I went insane. I can verify this.
Well, you miss the one because throughout the entire...
I didn't miss any of them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, take a look. Because throughout the entirety of this whole podcast, I've had Korok, and I've been moving it around throughout the whole...
I fucking hate you.
throughout the whole podcast, I have been moving it from point to point.
Is that the
hiding it.
little green thing that keeps moving on the screen?
Okay, so Hulkovich did see it.
When I see you in a week, I am going to beat the shit out of you.
I've had it.
Wait, what is that thing?
I've had it.
It's a spawn of Satan and it needs to burn.
So
Okay, so I thought I legit thought that there was just that something had always been. I thought I was going nuts, okay, because I kept seeing this little green
I
thing
was hoping
keep
it
moving
was,
around. And I'm
Burn
just
it
like,
with
what is that?
fire.
okay. I was hoping someone would see it and notice it because I've been
What
periodically.
is that
I've been
thing?
moving that thing around the whole episode.
Yeah, I saw it. I've been wondering what the heck it was because
That's
it's
a
so tiny. I'm
Korok.
like, what is that?
That is a Korok. It's
It's the
essentially
spawn of Satan.
it is a tree. It's a forest spirit in Legend of Zelda. If you've ever seen if you've seen Princess Mononoke, it's basically a forest spirit, a being that live in the forest and is supposed to both take care of the forest and be mischievous. I believe is because I think they're based off of some yokai. If I recall correctly, they're supposed to be based off of a yokai.
Based off of Satan is what they're
Yeah.
based off of.
In the Legend of Zelda franchise, they got a very notorious meaning because basically you had to find all of them, and I think there was like 293 in Breath of the Wild, and then there was
Yeah, I was so lucky there were that little of them.
and then again it was like 300 of them in the new Tears of the Kingdom. So it's very tedious.
Would you like for me to tell you how off you are?
Is it 500 and something?
There were 800
Oh,
and then
God.
900.
Yeah. So
They
imagine
added
looking.
100 that did nothing.
They would be under rocks. They would be in trees. They would be behind signs. They would be everywhere out of sight. So you had to go looking for them. And when you did find all of them, you didn't really get anything that was worth all of the trouble. And since Zed was talking about them before we start this podcast, I thought it was gonna be very little nifty to leave one hidden somewhere in there. So I've been moving it around throughout the title logo of Mythical Monster Investigation this whole time.
I've barely
I was-
been looking at the
It-
Discord screen,
if
so I
you-
never noticed it
If
until
you,
said
yeah, if
something.
you, when this goes up on YouTube, Zed, if you look, you'll see it'll pop in around the 5 minute mark, I believe, and then you'll just see periodically it will shift from different positions in the investigation with like its face peeking out between the O, its horn sticking out from the H, and
I'm so mad.
Okay, I was wondering what the heck that was. Like, I kept seeing this little green dot. I was like, what is that?
Burn it. Just burn it all.
that's
Doesn't
what it
deserve to
was.
live. It does not deserve to live. It should die in fiery explosions.
I figured that was gonna be a good way to end it. We couldn't find Bigfoot, but we could find a Korok seed.
Well, that is definitely a way to end it. And God, that creature is more horrifying than Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, then find the damn Korok.
Oh, I guess one last honorable mention. Bigfoot had played a lot of parts in video games. The one I recall the most is Bigfoot shows up in Grand Theft Auto 5.
Hold on, you cut out there.
Oh,
What?
okay, I'm cutting out for so Bigfoot does show up a lot in video games and media. And the big one I remember him showing up in is Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 1.
Okay, I caught Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
Yes, Bigfoot shows up in Red Dead Redemption.
How does Bigfoot show up in Red Dead Redemption? Isn't that about cowboys or
That's
something?
a cowboy during
Yeah, he's just there.
1880.
Is he a cowboy?
No.
No, he's just in a forest somewhere.
So basically,
And then he's accused of eating people and says, "You idiots, I eat plants."
but you spend the whole time hunting down the rest of his kind and killing them.
Okay.
This
Well, I guess that's...
this was basically a DLC. The DLC was the zombie apocalypse breakout in the West. And as you're going through and trying to defeat the zombies, you do side quests, and one of the side quests is hunt down Bigfoot.
Okay, since I'm literally catching every other word, I
Okay.
think that's a good
Yeah,
time to.
same.
That's
I'm
a sign
catching
that
like
this is a
every
good
other
time to end
syllable you're
this.
Disco's does
making.
not
I don't
like
know
it.
what.
The people in the podcast will hear it though.
Yeah, that's good. We'll find out what you said later, but I think that's a good place to end. So next in the book, we're actually going to be start looking at the more Greek myths, uh, sirens and things like that. But actually, for the next time we do this, I have a special podcast in mind, and it's over an interesting topic that I think will be kind of fun to look at. And I'm actually not going to tell my co-host what it's about. It's going to be
Great.
a complete shock, and it'll be fun. Whether or not there'll be any images on YouTube will depend on Shadow R Fox if he wants to. But I think it'll be an interesting story. It'll be fun, and you guys will get to kind of see where I'm coming with on this the next time. So until then, if you have any questions or interests in some of the monsters we've been looking at or more detail, you can, of course, check out the book Probable, Possible, Plausible, an explanatory guide about monsters and myths, which I believe is in the description below, right?
Yes, for all
Yes.
of them.
Yes. Until then, we hope to see you again next time.
See it.